Our last big topic for this week is a look at local budgets and tax issues. Bobby brought to light an issue about the school district adding an extra tax. Tell us about that.
Well, that's what I read today. School districts looking for additional money. They want to raise the taxes to generate an additional $25–26 million a year for the system.
4 years, something like that?
I believe. And again, here we are adding another tax. A tax is not the answer. It just isn't. They're taxing people to death, especially the folks that are unemployed, set income. If I looked at how we graded our students, student results based upon taxes, or the amount of taxes we pay, they should be way higher, but that's not the case. We keep paying into a system like it's a black hole. More money, more money, more money, yet we're not seeing the results on the back end. Educators blame the students, the parents blame the educators, and we're all stuck in this vicious cycle.
Well, I mean, as someone who has a child that, just finished up high school, I'm curious to see what your thoughts are where there just doesn't seem to be enough money. We have to pay for everything. School supplies are just outrageous. The lists grow every year. In order to play sports, you have to pay to play sports, buy your own uniforms. Where is this money going, and are there areas to cut? Stan?
Well, Henry, I think there have to be, because the question of adding on this new tax for purposes related to education, even though the purposes may be laudable, is really just another indication, another consequence of the mismanagement of county finances by those who've been in charge of it for the past 16 years. If they have pledged revenue streams at boom levels, at the levels that were coming in 2006 or so, on the weird assumption that the boom would last forever. They've issued bonds based on those revenue streams, and now they find that those streams have shrunk so much because the economy has gone down, tax revenues are reduced, they can't even make the interest payments on the bonds. They have to put in more money from somewhere else. And yet, every year, the county budget increases. It's gone up about $41 million on the average every year for the past 10 years.
Well,
there simply isn't enough revenue generating capacity in the county. They've got to find ways to reduce expenditures or find new revenue streams that don't involve higher taxes.
Well, everybody talks about economic development, but let's face it, in a tourism industry, in a tourist-driven economy here, where it's t-shirt shops and Walmarts, I don't know how you get that kind of tax revenue you need without burdening further the residential, the homeowners, and the housing market is just upside down.
What you do is you reach out to other potential revenue generators. This county has apparently consciously created a permit and regulatory maze which is so complex, and a tax requirement base which is so high that businesses won't locate in Volusia County, and small manufacturing firms we had here, even one company that made suntan oil, which you would think would be perfect for Daytona, they've left. Wow. Because it's so easy to do and so much cheaper to do business in other counties. They've simply got to restructure in order to bring in new kinds of operations, light manufacturing and other kinds of revenue creating operations which will generate tax flows to the county without requiring an already overburdened people to pay more.
Well, Bob, what about that? I mean, in New Smyrna Beach, we have a person with a joint title of CRA Director, Economic Development Director. Where's economic development in New Smyrna Beach? Do you know of any?
Well, there would be those that say that Walmart was part of that, or ABC Liquors. What we're doing is...
Again, more retail.
Right. What we're doing is we have the old shell game. We're moving people from off of the US 1 corridor out onto 44, such as Milano Ford, which stated in the paper today. I also hear that New Smyrna Beach, Chevrolet, I don't know about Chrysler, is also going to move out there. But what we're doing is we're creating the businesses on 44 by emptying the business off of Route 1, which in turn the city manager is going to go back another 2 years, 3 years, try to get this new CRA for the blighted area of Route 1. Well, how do we do
US 1, and
right,
who
US
also
1.
wants to shoe in Canal Street, which has been under CRA
Right.
domain for, it'll be 30 years when it sunsets in 2015. But let's talk more immediately about what she put out this week, which was that she wants to cut a position in the police department and 2 positions in the Parks and Rec, stating that these are retired positions. And I spoke to one police officer today who's a commander, and that's the position she wants to eliminate. How can you eliminate a position if the guy hasn't retired? And I know that in New Smyrna Beach, it's the one that's got the seniority, the one who has the least is the first one out. It's kind of like counting your chickens before they hatch. Where do you go with that?
The only thing, a comment I'm going to make is, I don't know how we can keep policing the area that we have, which has become a rather large area, especially with the expansion on the west side of 95. We keep cutting back the number of people in the police department as the population base increases. Something's got to give
So
some.
let's put this in perspective. In the last 4 years, since this city manager has been in place, Pam Brangaccia, there's been 10 police officer positions eliminated, whether they're in vacancy or retirement. And now, this will be the 11th. In the fire department, you have 10 and a half positions. Now, in the fire department, obviously, the pensions are much more of an overriding issue because they don't pay into the system like the cops do. But if the overtime is such a crazy situation where you don't have enough cops, would it make sense to hire police instead of eliminating police to keep that overtime in check?
You would think.
So what can be done? I mean, you don't have the average, you're always complaining there's nobody at City Hall. What can be
Same old
done?
problem. Same old, it's a question that needs to be raised at the meeting. It starts Tuesday night with the budget. You come to there and see how many people actually show up.
But I speak to so many people in the city, Stan, and whether it's New Smyrna Beach or Ormond Beach or Daytona or Deltona, DeLand, they all say the same thing. They don't relate to us. They have huge salaries. It's twice what the private sector is. You have these overpaid administrators. How can we, why should we even get involved? They don't listen to what we say anyway.
Well, I think, just to refer specifically to New Smyrna, there are a couple of things you have to ask. And I don't know the answer to the questions, but just taking a look at these, you say over 4 years, 10 police positions have been eliminated. What has that done, if you balance that off against the overtime for the remaining police, what has that done to the police budget? Has it gone up? Has it gone down during that period? Has it stayed the same? That's the first question. And then the second question, what has happened to the crime rate? If you have 10 fewer police and you have more territory and more people to be policed during those 4 years, has the crime rate gone up in absolute numbers? Or in terms of percentage of the population, has it gone down? What exactly has been the result of that?
Well, put it this way.
And I don't know the answer, but
Put it this way,
you have to know if the policy was successful.
Right. There was an armed home invasion this morning in Smyrna Beach. Crime is not going to go away, and crime rates are something that bureaucrats throw out there to justify, whether it's increasing or decreasing. The numbers really don't matter. I mean,
They kind of do.
Well, the numbers matter, but you can take like the crime rate and say, okay, there's a murder, rape, robbery, assault, burglary, what they call Part A crimes, sort of serious felonies. You could have an increase in burglaries, but have a significant decrease in murders. It's all in how you interpret what's significant to safety of the public. Is it a bunch of car break-ins? Or is it, an armed invasion? And do we have enough police? Now, those are reactive crimes, but what about enough police for the proactive stuff? Just being invisible, police on the street.
Well, I think the public themselves needs to become more aware, more involved. There are times where it could take a substantial amount of time for someone to respond. And again, I don't mean police, fire, anybody. You have to be more observant. There was a woman that was just on the TV last night. I think she was 68 years old. They jumped and ripped her off, then started to pistol whip her. She had a concussion. She had a number of staples, sutures. This is what it's turning out to be. You've got to be aware every day you're out there. I tell my wife, look around when you come out of the store. If it's dark, ask somebody to walk you out. people have to become more aware of their
Well,
surroundings.
let me ask you this, for both of you, and again, New Smyrna is a sort of our sampling for the county as a whole, but I'm sure it's not much different elsewhere in terms of like you said, you have people that make these decisions, and it's, where they have permits and the whole bureaucracy which locks out development. In a city like New Smyrna Beach, you have approximately 22,000 people. You have the sheriff's office with some assistance, but they have a large territory too to deal with. Why do we need a city manager with 6 figures, an assistant city manager with 6 figures, a CRA/economic development director with 6 figures, or approaching 6 figures, and a whole host of others in City Hall that you never see on the street? Bob, to put it in perspective for us.
Put it in perspective. It's very difficult to put it in perspective when you go to the meetings and I keep going back to what the problem is, and you turn around, there's 5 people sitting
No,
there.
I understand that, but
Where are you gonna go?
But I mean, what about the justification of having these multiple 6-figure salaries when you don't have enough cops
They're
on the
going to
street?
justify anything they want to justify when there's nobody in the audience questioning them or confronting them.
Well, what I'm
Period.
asking is, can you justify those salaries?
Absolutely not. But I'm one person sitting in the audience. What is my one voice going to do when nobody else is concerned? I mean, you're asking me, I'm telling you, this is the problem. I don't think they're able to do all these things.
Stan?
I don't know what city managers and other folks like that are paid around the state of Florida. If that is about what a city manager makes elsewhere, then it seems to me if you want to attract talent, you've got to pay the going rate. I mean, that's what the free market is all about. On the other hand, you might want to make the argument that you don't need as many of these people,
Right.
that you could combine their responsibilities into one individual who, instead of making 100,000, might make 150, but
Well,
you
let
would
me-
get rid of another 1 or 2 people who made like level salaries. That might be possible.
Well, let me throw this out at you, Stan, and Bob knows this firsthand. They have a CRA, and we spoke about Canal Street earlier. They're gonna have Christmas on Canal in July with snow and Santa Claus. Is that what the purpose of a CRA economic development director is, when Kmart has closed, Food Lion has closed, a restaurant in McCarrick has closed a couple of weeks saying they didn't have much support from the city? Bob, where does it end in terms of what these people are justifying the salaries for?
It ends when you bring people to the meeting and you confront your elected and appointed officials. That's when you'll start to get control back. Until that time, they're going to cruise and do what they want to do. That's it.
Well, Bob, you make a good point there about the lack of citizen participation, and who knows when that'll come around. Maybe it's a huge issue that takes something dramatic to get people out there. Stan, last word on that?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I think that people need to be better informed. I think they need to take the trouble to inform themselves about these things by attending the meetings, as Bob said, by looking these things up on the internet, reading about them in the newspaper, going to the trouble to learn, and then standing up and saying what they think. If enough people take action, local officials will listen. That includes salary levels, it includes the number of employees, it includes their job descriptions. The people have the power if they're willing to take the time and trouble to use it.
Well, with that said, this is Henry Frederick of Headline Surfer for the Roundtable, for Bob Tolley, and for Stan Escudero. I hope you gentlemen have a nice week. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
You too.